Well, you have heard of diseases like multiple sclerosis, HIV, and Lou Gehrig's disease, but what about dysautonomia?
Dysautonomia is called the invisible illness.
It's an illness that affects hundreds of thousands of people, yet few people have actually heard about it.
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It's a mouthful. Really big words, but they have an even bigger impact.
And many who suffer from it spend years going from doctor to doctor without being properly diagnosed.
Those diagnosed with this disease look fine on the outside, but inside they could be seconds away from serious injury.
There is currently no cure, and today we are recognizing awareness of this debilitating disease.
You look fine, they say to me, unaware of what's behind the mask of the person I pretend to be. You see, 24/7 my world is turning, I am dizzy. My heart's racing, I'm shaking, I'm nauseous and in pain that's excruciating, but I'm gonna put a smile on my face anyways. You ask me how I'm doing, I'll probably say that I'm doing okay. Trying to explain to people that I go through this every day is hard to convey when it's invisible and not physically portrayed. Or at least it is until I hit the floor. My blood pressure drops or my heart rate soars. 25% of patients can't hold a job or attend school to receive good test scores. And the small things we used to take for granted are now behind closed doors. It gets physically and emotionally draining going through this 24/7 as symptoms are detrimental to quality of life. People always telling me to get better soon, but in reality, it'll be a never-ending fight. That is, until a cure is in sight, but for now, increase your salt, make sure you hydrate, and don't forget those electrolytes. Yeah, it's crazy to think this could be a result of my Lyme disease and a few concussions. At the time, I thought everything would be okay, but never expected to deal with these repercussions. So now my whole world constantly spins, even when I'm lying in bed. Before I knew what was wrong, I was scared I wouldn't wake up, all because of a blow to my head. But no one can see that, and the students probably just think I'm weird, constantly stumbling out of class without asking for the teacher's rules I often do not adhere. But it all makes sense when the nurse comes to get me in a wheelchair and my disability soon appears. My parents once again have to drop work to come pick me up from school, and on the way home, on their face, all I see is tears. So go on, go ahead, tell me it's all in my head, tell me it's all in my head, tell me it's all in my head. Heck, for 3 months I couldn't even make it out of my own bed. On average, people suffer for 6 years before getting an answer because many doctors are uninformed, so our diagnoses are often misled. Now I can let this hold me back. I could give up right now, but instead I choose to bridge the gap between the things that I can and cannot do. I decided to enroll in a major I always wanted to pursue, professional golf management, but I'm struggling to just make it through. Gotta pass my playing ability test, but that's hard to do when I look down at a resting golf ball, but in my head, it's constantly on the move. And people are always wondering why the heck I never even practice. Meanwhile, they don't even realize that the fact is I truly would, but my body isn't intact, and when it's hot like it is out there, I will collapse. And while I'm doing a lot better now than I was 3 years ago, I'm scared that my episodes today will trigger a relapse to a time when I couldn't hold myself up for 3 months, got home tutored, had no social life, barely ate a thing, and couldn't even make it through one shower without my dad running down the hall when he heard a noise thinking that I passed out and fell on my back. But I'm sorry you couldn't see that, because what I have is an invisible illness, an invisible handicap, and even if I shared my story, you wouldn't even understand half of the suffering if I decided to post it in more than one snap. Because even today I get weird looks from people when I tell them that I have accommodations. Even if I took the time to explain to them why, I feel like they just wouldn't understand. It's so frustrating. And when people try to talk to me when I'm not feeling good, I get so uneasy that I cut them off in conversation. So nice going, Nicole. Congratulations. Coming off as being rude and diminishing yet another relation, especially when I can't make commitments because I can't predict how I'm gonna feel at a particular time. So it's just cancellation after cancellation. I really don't want to do this to my friends and family. I'm sorry if I ever disappointed you. You have to trust me on this one, though. I just can't control the situation, because this isn't the life I really want to be living in when my consciousness is relying on my mitogen. But I can tell you that I am lucky, because there are people with this condition who now spend their life constantly in the hospital or having to use a wheelchair, which makes sense when it takes us 3 times more energy to stand up than a normal person if you wanted to compare. And when we have to use the handicap parking, people just stare because we don't look sick on the outside, but if you turned our bodies inside out, you'd be aware. Man, I couldn't tell you how many times I've been scared, but I thank God for allowing me to wake up every morning and for all your support and prayers. Now, I may find my quality of life being compared to those with congestive heart failure and COPD, but if there is one thing that I can tell you is that I may have POTS, but POTS does not have me.